And I'm back at Chesil. Bloody Chesil. I just can't help myself. Back down Chesil Beach, Ferrybridge to be specific. In the hunt for some decent fish in the middle of February. It is February the 15th. So happy Valentine's for everyone yesterday. Hope you had a great day. Whether that was with a loved one or with a passion for fishing, whatever that might have been. I hope it was a good one. Yes, but I'm down Ferrybridge in search of whatever I can find. Would love, again, to get that big eel, of course. That's really what the target is. Now, there's a big swell out there. We've had some pretty strong onshore winds over the night. The wind is kind of turning easterly and kind of dying off. There's not really much wind at all at the moment because we're kind of sheltered behind Portland, but this residual swell is coming in. There's some big breaking waves on the shoreline. But if that settles down and we can get past that and hold bottom, then the water out there does look good. We've got a big tide today, a nice big tide. I can see it's all churned up, it's all mixy and nice looking. It looks good for fish. So let's make something out of it. In terms of baits, I've got some salted ragworm, which I actually had from last week, and didn't use it all up, but I didn't want to waste it, so I kept it alive for a couple of days. Then I salted it, didn't put it in the freezer, kept it in the fridge, just in a sealed tub, and it is really good bait still. It's come out today looking really firm, nice and kind of not too dried up where it's all kind of dehydrated, but yeah, good bait. So I'm going to do that again. I've got some lovely blueys, I've got some sand eel, and a box of squid. We'll have a go with the worm rig to try and get some pouting to put out for some live baits for some congers, and that's going to be the plan. Let's make it happen, eh? Well, that's one rod out. I think it's going to be one of those days where bite detection isn't really a thing. It's a case of bring the rod in and see if there's a fish on it. Or you get a fish big enough that you're running down the beach trying to catch it. Because yeah, that swell is big. It is monstrous. It's on the verge of unfishable, but I'm holding bottom, which is one thing. See if all this effort's worthwhile, eh? So today, I'm not fishing alone. I'm not fishing with Darren. I'm actually fishing with a guy called Martin, who messaged me about a week or two ago, said, watch your videos, enjoy your content. He lives a couple of hours away from the beach, and there's no one real local to him that kind of is into sea fishing. They're all kind of coarse fishers and coarse anglers. And he said, do you fancy going for a fish? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So we've come to Ferrybridge, his first ever time at Ferrybridge. He often fishes kind of Abbotsbury and the other marks further up that way, and West Bexington, that kind of stuff. And of course, whilst I'm no expert of Ferrybridge and Chesil, I have spent a lot of time down Ferrybridge and Chesil over the last year or so. So we thought we'd come down, give it a go, see how we can get on. As I say, very challenging conditions to fish Ferrybridge for the first time, but we're hopeful. We're very hopeful. It looks as though this swell is starting to dissipate. We're just coming up to slack tide, which would hopefully mean that swell has a chance to just dissipate and actually fade away a bit. And then we can get into the fish. We're actually fishing pretty much right next to, not on top of, because you don't want to fish into them, but the wrecks that are here at Ferrybridge, fishing just to the side of them. So hopefully we can pull out a big eel. He has brought his gaff with him, but we were just saying, it's probably unlikely that he's going to get down there and pull any fish up with a gaff with these swells. I said to him, unless it's 30-pound plus conger, fish of a lifetime, then I expect him to get down there. But yeah, fingers crossed that comes into use later. Well, we're about 2 hours into the session now, I would say, since I've had rods in the water. Nothing to show for it yet. Not even a bite, actually, which is always a bit... Although, we have just come up to slack tide, so the flood tide is just due to begin. hopefully that switches things on. Now, I think I'm having a little bit of a better time than Martin, who just had a crack off. I am in need of a good session, I feel. Probably most people are actually in January, February. It's tough going. I've heard a lot of people say though the last month or month or so, 4 or 5 weeks, there's been some of the toughest fishing for quite some time, for some years. The winter season has been, I think, poorer than most people have had in quite a while. But I'm not here to be negative. I'm not here to whinge about the fishing or anything. There are still good fish being caught. It's just putting the time in and finding them. But yeah, I do need a good session. I also need a cup of tea, which I'm going to sort out now. I need to catch a fish, and I need to prepare for tonight. Oh, by the way, how does it feel to be back on my GoPro? I finally got my GoPro back. If anyone remembers from, I think like 2 years ago now, when I jumped off the boat with the GoPro on my hand, and the battery seal not completely closed or not sealed, and fried a GoPro, I got it back. It took nearly 2 years for GoPro to sort it, but I got it back. I got it sorted. So we have 2 cameras. Anyway, I need to catch a fish, and I'd love to have some little pouting to use as baits, conger baits for tonight. So I'm just setting up the 3rd rod now. Got my rig box out. I want to get a tiny little flapper rig and put some squid tentacles on, because that always does the job for me. Last summer when I was scratching around, just little squid tentacles will catch me all sorts of fish. Muddyford a few weeks back, I was catching little bass with them. So yeah, I'm going to whack that out, try and get some baits for tonight. I've still got my raid rig out. I've still got my kind of slightly bigger size 1/0 hook flapper rig with some big juicy ragworm sausages on. But yeah, let's see if we can find this conger. Martin messaged me over the last, well, about a couple of weeks back now, saying that he'd been watching my content, enjoying my videos, and was asking if I was interested in going out for a session fishing. He lives kind of like Oxford way, so a few hours away from the kind of south coast, and there's not many people around him are kind of into sea fishing. There's a lot more of a coarse kind of carp community around there. So I was like, yeah, of course, more than happy to come down for a session. And it's been fantastic. I mean, he's, real nice bloke. We've been chatting for like hours now about sea fishing and targets and species and all sorts of different things. We've already planned some future trips to kind of. He's going to come and join me and Darren, another friend of the channel, of course, on some of the sessions that we've got planned this year. We're even dreaming about a Norway trip as well, because I am desperate to get to Norway at some point. But yeah, all good stuff. It's fantastic that my channel has got me, in front of audiences like this. It's given me the opportunity to meet people such as Martin, fish with them, and yeah, really, really good stuff. So, top marks all round. Chesil sunsets are special. Almost makes the blanking so far worth a while. Almost, not quite though. As the evening drew in, the rod stayed motionless, with just some good conversation being had to pass the time. Not only was a Chesil sunset an absolute treat for the eyes, it also provided some hope that the fish may soon start to feed. Well, we've been treated to a fantastic winter evening's Chesil sunset. It's genuinely been gorgeous, but still not treated to a fish. Both myself and Martin not had a single bite. I've got 3 rods out and have had for the last hour or so. We've had worm baits out, we've had ray baits out, we've got big conger baits out, all sorts. Nothing, not a single thing is getting a look in. But darkness has now set in, as you can see. The tip lights are all on and we're all set for an evening session. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this gets us a fish. Everything else that I could have asked for, conditions-wise, has kind of, been on the checklist. We've got a nice big swell, big stirred up, strong seas. We've got a big tide, spring tides at the moment. So yeah, everything is in place other than the fish. So how it goes. Well, in a fantastic turn of events, after nearly 8 hours fishing Chesil Beach, Ferrybridge, I've just had my first bite. Unbelievable. But it was on my worm bait rig. Probably just something, a little pouting or whiting or something. Unfortunately didn't manage to hook itself up. But that is the first bite I've seen all night, which I'm pleased to see. Now, I was just chatting to Martin there. I think we're not going to give it much longer. It's been a long day already with not much to show for it. And sometimes you've got to know when to call it quits. But that is encouraging to see a little bite there. There is fish, there's something in the water. But I'm going to rebait this worm rig, get it sent back out. I'll get it sent straight back out there and try and find whatever it was I was having a go. I will actually take this opportunity to show you guys just how I'm baiting this worm rig, because it's a little bit different to the norm and there's a reason for it. I'm using size 1 or 1L, I can't remember what size hooks these are. And this is a very simple flapper rig. But the worm that I'm using is ragworm from last week, which, as I mentioned earlier, I've just simply salted down. And it's worked well. They're really firm, really good, decent baits too. A lot of them are quite small or are leftover ragworm from the week before. So the way I'm baiting these up is to get one on the needle. So these have been my, I guess, kind of scratching but kind of cod bait for the night. Although clearly hasn't worked so far. But I have caught cod doing this before actually. Back in, I think it was August, when we had some really good cod around. This was doing the business for me. And it's just a really nice way to present a nice big rag sausage with loads of scent, loads of bait in the water, and I've got lots of ragworm to use up. So it can work well when you're using if you've got lots of small bits of ragworm, you want to put a big bait out there, this can do well. But I've got one on the needle, and then I'm just going to take 3 or 4 more worms and just kind of head hook them over the needle. 2, 3, 4. Oh, come with me, mister. Okay, so we've got a load of worm, just like that. Now, just get your hand and kind of cut them over like that. Get your bait elastic. Checking those rods, make sure we ain't got any more trembles. Get your bait elastic and just lightly whip them together. This really works well with salted rag, I find, because where they're a little bit tougher and firmer, it just seems to work well. They bind together quite nicely, but they're not too soft at the bait elastic, and everything just cuts through them. You can put quite a bit on there. So that is whipped on nicely like so. Grab your hook, place it obviously with the hook point proud, like so. Grab your bait elastic again, and then simply bind that on. And what you'll find is that hook will kind of bed into the salted rag nicely. Get a good amount around the eye of the hook. And there you have a beautiful little ragworm sausage. Salted rag, that's like 3 or 4 ragworm in there. That, well, it hasn't done amazing today, will catch you fish. Alright, let's get it out there. Fish do exist at Chesil. We have a little pouting after, I think it's probably 9 hours of fishing. But there we go. I'm not giving it much longer. If I was staying longer, this would be going out as a conger bait, but I don't think it's worth it. I mean, he's pretty live. If I can get him back in these swells, I will do. But there we go. It's not a blank. We haven't blanked. We're at Chesil catching fish in February. Deary me. So, I've had a bit of a change of heart with that pouting. I figured I'm here for another hour or so. The goal is, the mission statement is a big eel. And the chances of me getting that pouting back safely in this swell, I mean, I wasn't getting anywhere close to that water because it is still dangerous. It is still, you know, some big waves, big swell still coming in. So the chances of it going back and actually being, you know, put back alive and going back all right is very slim. So it's had a bit of a haircut and it's been sent out on a wire trace on a pulley panel in the hope for that big eel. So I'm going to sit on that for about an hour or so. I've still got a worm bait rig out. I've still got a bluey and squid bait out. So it could all still happen. It could definitely still happen. But we haven't blanked. We've had a pouting on the deck. We've caught a fish. Well, another pouting. That's 2 pouting for the night for about, I don't know, 10 hours worth of fishing. But I don't know if you can see in the background there, I had a bit of a nightmare. I think I managed to bring in my other line as I was bringing in this fish. And the line actually kind of came across me and got caught in the reel handle of the reel that I was bringing in. And actually cut the line, cut the braid, and like halfway through. So that's one spool that I definitely need to re-spool. I've been putting off for a while to almost though, so yeah, a bit of a nightmare. That rig's still in the water, so I'm gonna have to handline it back in. Deary me, what a day, eh? But we haven't blanked. I'm gonna try and get this guy back, give him a good lob. There's no point. I'm about to pack up soon, so there's no point sticking him out as a live bait or a bait, maybe not live, but yeah. Anyway, I'll sort this mess out and get him back. What the? Okay, so I just went down to put this guy back and there was another one on the beach. I don't think it's my fish. There was only one when I brought him up, but he was halfway down the bank. I don't know if a wave's washed him up or what. He's not the one from earlier because he's all chopped up on the end of my other rig. So do I count that as 3 fish today? I'll take it, he's alive still. Alright, there we go. Let's get him back. That's the most bizarre fish I've ever caught. And yeah, I promise you, it's not the first one. That's what's left of the first one, so. Well, those Chesil walks never get easier. But there we have it, another Chesil session done. The big eel hunt continues on throughout 2025. It's definitely one I'm ticking off this year, but it wasn't today. A few pouting on the board, which was good. At least we got some fish on the bank. Great to meet Martin, have a session with him. Definitely look out for him in future videos. I think we've already agreed on the next day for another session. Chesil drives me crazy, but it's definitely an obsession and one that I definitely can't drop. Anyway, see you on the next one.